Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Greencast World. I am here, Jihan, with Ana Celia.
Ana Celia.
And we are here on episode, where are we now? Episode 7?
7.
Time flies when you're having fun. I can't believe it's already 7 episodes. Thank you, super thank you to everyone who's listened, to those who are seeing our videos on YouTube, and to those who are on an Instagram as well. We cannot thank you enough for all of your support. Thank you very much. Okay, so this episode, we wanted to go a little bit deeper and talk about two main things that are often talked about in the whole sustainability green world, which are carbon footprint and composting. I can never say that word, composting, because the two big things, and we really wanted to touch subject on those. We're not going to go too deep because they can be very extensive and very scientific things to talk about, but we just want to introduce it a little bit.
Yes, very, very excited to speak and share with you about these two topics, because both can generate a big direct impact to the environment, and also they are both accessible to everybody in many ways. We are gonna see why and how.
Okay, so I think the first thing that we need to talk about is what is carbon footprint. And some of you might have heard the term and some of you have no idea what it is. We said it in another episode before, just live only footprints, and take only memories. However, do not leave carbon footprints behind. So the carbon footprint refers to the amount of carbon dioxide that it's released into the atmosphere as a result of activities of a particular individual, organization, or community. Everybody, you, me, anybody and everybody produces carbon dioxide, and it releases it into the environment. Obviously, some of us do it more than others, and it all comes down to the amount of time that you drive, the type of car that you drive, how often you travel by airplane or by sea or by any type of transportation that is using fossil fuels will produce carbon dioxide. And by fossil fuels, I mean like petrol and diesel and all of those, not the new green alternatives. Also, the amount of meat that you eat. And I know that's a little bit of a touchy subject because, I mean, some people are vegetarian, some people are vegan. I am neither of those. I still consume meat, but I do try to do it in a conscious way. However, the amount of meat that you eat will have an impact on the amount of carbon dioxide that is released into the environment, simply because, believe it or not, cows are the biggest producers of carbon dioxide. What after they eat, and the gases, the toxic gases that they're releasing into the environment. Oops. Yes, it's one of the biggest culprits of carbon dioxide. And then all of this release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere produces what we call the greenhouse gases. Greenhouse effect, which is mainly, it's just when there's too much of that in the environment, our world the planet cannot deal with processing them, and then this become stuck between here and the atmosphere. And then that is what also creates the raising temperature, which is climate change that we all know very well. So this is deeply scientific, but I think as individuals, as long as we know the main things that can trigger your amount of carbon footprint, like as I mentioned, driving and eating meat, I think those are the biggest concerns. And if you fly, yeah.
And now that you said climate change, we all know about. In case you don't know, because we want to be super careful with the terms that we manage here and make sure everybody is following us and we are all on the same page and learning together. Climate change is the big reason, because we are seeing nature catastrophes more often. Yeah. I know many people tends to think that it can be related to religious reasons, because people is doing thing, or because governments are trying to control stuff, but the truth is the environment is trying to get the balance. So the temperature is raising, the cold places that used to be cold are getting hotter, and hot places are getting colder, and many environments are getting like this balance, and that's why many nature catastrophes are happening.
And that is the biggest issue with global warming and climate change. It is that you think, oh, it's only a couple of more degrees, it's not going to do anything. But a couple of more degrees when you go to the Antarctic, it means that the ice is melting. And then if the ice is melting, it means that the ocean, the water levels are increasing. And if that's increasing, then that is changing not only the ecosystem under the water, but it's also going to change the land to where we live, because it's going to take over more land and it's going to be more water. It's like a domino effect, you know, one thing.
Animal extinction.
Yeah. And
it's crazy.
And also, some people are not as concerned as animals as they are for themselves. When you think about it, climate change and global warming also affect the crops and our capacity to produce enough food for the always growing amount of population that we have in planet Earth. So long story short, carbon footprint, it's something that you should consider. I'm not saying that you become a super obsessive about it, but it's something that you should consider when it comes to your day-to-day activities. And I know it's like, well, what do you mean? Like, I'm not gonna be looking how many miles I do. Yeah, how does it work? So there's many things you can do. Here in my household, for example, I don't drive an eco-friendly car. I don't. But Steve he used to have a petrol SUV. And he changed for a diesel car, which is, the ones that turn off when you are in the traffic light. And every time you do that, the car will tell you how much carbon you saved from making by doing that stop on the car switching off. So that is it's quite a cool little thing that a lot of the new cars have it. And it helps you to your consumption. A diesel, it's always a little bit less polluting than a petrol engine, a little bit more eco-friendly. Of course, you can be even more eco-friendly if you go into having an electric or a hybrid car.
Or you use bicycle.
Oh yeah.
If you drive a short distance.
It depends where you live too, right? Because if you're in the city, you can walk, you can bike, you can take the metro, underground train, whatever you call it.
And it's depend of the city as well, because there are cities or there is people that has routines. They live close to work and they do the majority of the errands around, but the city doesn't have the structure to drive a bicycle safely. That is something important to say, because, for example, here in Boston, they are developing huge bicycle routes. They are taking the streets from cars to give it to the bicycles, and you can drive even half hour, 45 minutes if you live in the suburbs to the city. Even better that you can do it in your car. It has the infrastructure, but there is other cities that maybe you do the errands just in the next 2 squares, but it's not safe to drive the bicycle. So we understand also, sometimes it doesn't depend on people, no?
There's also a lot of cities. I know Houston had it. I used to live in Houston, and Cardiff has it, where you can rent a bike. So even if you don't own a bike, you can rent the bike while you're in the city, and then you can move from A to B. Without having to produce any carbon dioxide. Really.
I know.
Another
thing huge cities like that, or like Los Angeles, or like many cities in Florida that are very flat, so distances are big and they don't have the infrastructure. Or other places like our Venezuela that is not safe, but there is no gas either. So you know what, people will be interested in how to and see that it also no using your car very often for whatever reason is pushing you to do it, you are helping the environment. So no, everything is bad.
But also that is why your carbon footprint, it's something quite personal because it depends on your circumstances, it depends on your living conditions, on where you are, what you do. But another tip that I have, I use an app that is called Capture. And with Capture, every time I get in the car, it recognizes that I'm traveling in the car. So if I go from here to the supermarket and then back, it immediately recognizes the amount of traveling that I did, and it calculates my amount of my carbon footprint based on the car that I'm driving. So if I'm going in my car, it is a petrol engine, it gives me, okay, you did, I don't know, 5 kilograms of carbon dioxide today.
You haven't said the name of the car, the app, which is
the app is called Capture. Capture. Yeah, and it's like a little green icon. We can always put it on Instagram for people to have a look if you want to have a look. Another thing that Capture does, well, you will let you put on Capture what your diet is, if it's meat only, if it's vegetarian, whatever your diet is on a regular basis. And then you let it know how many air miles you're doing. So like for me, when I travel to America, that's a lot, because it's a 10-hour flight from London to Houston. So that
you can hear planting so many seeds.
Yes, it's a huge impact when it comes to carbon to my footprint when I travel from here to there. But a good thing, not everything is bad, because if you have this app, I don't want you to think, well, I'm gonna get obsessive about all of the carbon dioxide that I'm releasing, and then there's nothing I can do about it. But there is. So with this app, and I know many apps or many other things probably do the same, you can do what they call carbon offsetting, which means you give back to the environment to try to contrast the amount of carbon dioxide that you're releasing. So kind of like try to erase your carbon footprint. And with this one, you can immediately, straight from the app, you can do your your carbon offsetting by donating to different organizations that do conservation. Great. So for example, from here, I can donate to American Forest Conservation. So for $1.32, I delete 100 kilograms of carbon dioxide that I released into the atmosphere. You can also donate to tree planting in Panama. You have renewable energy development. So there's different kinds of things here that you can contribute.
That's amazing.
And donate. So, you know, it's not a perfect solution, but it's a way that you can give back.
Yeah, of course. It's amazing. Something that I discovered, for example, doing some purchase for the restaurant, is that I can work with some suppliers that use free carbon footprint services for shipping, which is amazing, because I suppose I didn't know too much about it until we started speaking about this. And I suppose all those fossils that they use to deliver these products, they matches it doing donations, as you mentioned, or planting seeds, or doing other kind of activities that can balance all those emissions that are just releasing to the environment.
It is possible.
That's amazing.
I don't know, but it's possible that the UPS has its own program where they plant trees in different areas to try to carbon offset, because unless they're delivering everything walking, which they're not, they are producing carbon foot emissions because, you know, all of the traveling. But the fact that they're doing something to contrast that, the carbon offsetting, I think it's amazing. So it might be worth having a look to see what UPS has and if any other are offering the same. Yeah,
I know. Amazon is starting to do something similar. They are investing a lot. I think also they are getting a lot of pressure of people in general that they gotta reduce contamination. For the first time this week, I received an Amazon package in a completely recycled paper envelope.
That's good.
Yes, it's super good. Finally.
It's
but important. It was because it was a environmental friendly products. I think they are doing it with the product is environment friendly, and well, try to buy more environment friendly things instead of others to also receive the packaging more sustainable. Also, Jihan, that you were mentioning when you are going to work, which is one of the most common commuting that we do and we cannot avoid. Try to take a ride with a friend, coordinate.
Oh yeah,
Also,
carpooling.
there is carpooling. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. There is also a lot of cities that are giving you free toll or toll reduced when
Carpool.
a car is I mean, two or more people are in the same car. So carpooling is also a good idea.
Exactly, because then you think, okay, I'm still going from A to B. It's the same amount of carbon footprint. But if it's two people, it's not the same as, you know, 2 or 3, 4 people. It's not the same as one just doing it. So yeah, that's a great alternative to do that. I could talk about carbon footprint and emissions and offsetting all day long, but we also wanted to talk about doing your own compost in your house, which is something that you do. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, composting. What is composting? Composting is simple, organize the organic materials to make sure they decomposed. So the final result is called compost. It's so repetitive, but it pretty much looks like earth, like dirt, like tierra. The
it's
same
like
one
abono,
that you can.
No?
I'm sorry,
like
abono. See,
yeah.
We call it abono too. Yes, abono is a better word than tierra because the compost is full of nutrients and vitamins, good for the plants. But it requires a lot of effort. It requires also a knowledge. As much as you do it, you start discovering things. And in some point, you will think, okay, this is a lot of work. And why I want to do this if I can go to the nearest store and buy just a little bag for my plants? I don't have even too much plants. I don't want to become a farmer anyway. But there is a few very, very important reasons because composting can help the environment like right away, and you will feel the difference. Composting, first of all, reduce the greenhouse gases that you mentioned before. It is one of the easiest ways to reduce at least the ones that you produce directly. How this food, because you say, okay, plants, food, fruits, how they can produce green gases. Okay, when the truck tank takes all this, the compostable waste, compostable organic materials from your home, they will put it in a specific place with many other materials that there are no most likely compostable. So they will need to put a lot of pressure on it in order to reduce the volume. And I read that, for example, an avocado, that if you just leave it outside and expose it to the environment, air, water, and all elements of nature, it will decompose in just a few weeks. But if you put a lot of pressure on it and you cover it with other materials, it can last years on the planet.
Which is what happens with almost everything that ends up in a landfill. So what you're saying, the landfill is where they put everything under there, stuff it in, cover it up, and then it takes forever to decompose.
They have to, because the volume is so much. People produce so much waste. So that is one of the most important reasons. The other one is because is that plants and fruits, vegetables has water on it. And that humidity, when you put it directly to the earth that you have next to you, it will go directly to the environment in where you live. So you are making sure also that the rivers and the water resources that you have in your community are also getting fed with new water. All of this is easier when you have a lot of space, when you have a big backyard, but there is also alternatives. As for example, I have a decomposter, electronic decomposter, because I live in an apartment, and there is also more lucky places like Jihan's
Yeah.
area that has a compost service. So you can tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so in the UK, you get, you know how you have your regular bin where you put your waste, then you get a recycling bin for all of your recycling things, and then you get a food bin, which is a much smaller little bin, and it's green. And they also give you for free the bags. And these bags are compostable too, which means they will disintegrate if you leave them there long enough. So what you do, you put all of your food scraps in those bags, and they pick it up once a week when they pick up the recycling as well. So there's like a separate entity that takes that away, and then they process all of that, and then they do the compost, and then they use that for the local council, for the plants and everything. So I really don't have to worry much about it. I just put all my food scraps or whatever, in the little bag, and then they take it away every week. So that is great.
Lucky you.
Yeah, but I have learned that I didn't know before, that not all foods are compostable. Like some things like orange peels or citruses and
citrus.
Yeah, you shouldn't put too many in there.
Not too many coffee either, not too many tea. It's garlic, mostly fruits.
Acidic garlic too. Like any acidic kind of food with a high pH, it's not that you can't put it there, but it will make your compost too the pH too high, and then it's not, it's alkaline, blah blah blah, too scientific. But yeah.
Yeah. Yes, but the good thing when you are using a service like yours is that let's say you love citrus, or Sean loves citrus, you will probably put a little extra that you should, but it maybe will balance with your neighbor that doesn't like orange, they like something else. So even that you would like to balance, you don't have to care that much, because at the end you are like balancing all the consumption with your neighbors. I have access to pay for a service like that here. We pay for that at the restaurant, and at home it's been a little more difficult, not just because we have to pay for it, it's also because the infrastructure. My condominium doesn't have a specific place, for example, to put it. So you cannot leave it in the entrance of your building, because maybe, at the end it's food decomposing. So it will smell, so you don't want to, decomfort any neighbor. And where is the trash and the recycling area, there tends to be a lot of animal, which is another disadvantage of composting. So there is a few alternative. One, as I said, if you live in an apartment and you want to invest on this, you can do your compost in an electronic composter. So far I love it, I use it a lot, and the only thing that you gotta live with is you gotta change the filter time to time, like every 6 months. It's not too expensive, but as you have to do an investment. If you have a little piece of earth in your backyard, and of course you don't want the smell, is not big enough to have it far and avoid smells or all the consequence that can have, you can also try in a little bin. You can buy a little plastic bin, or repurpose one bin that you have for another thing. Make a hole so that the organic materials can breathe, and just put a very heavy lid on it, and no animals can go in, and leave it there. Have one that you will put your organic waste very often, and when it's full, just put it to the side, leave it to rest until it get decomposed for like 8-10 weeks, and start filling another one, because this is a process that takes time. And you don't want to put over and over, and never mix it up, because they are getting in levels or
layers.
Layers. They are making layers. So you don't want to mix them up, because it will take longer. It's a huge topic. as the
It's
carbon
so
footprint as
extensive,
well.
and we're just barely touching the surface with what we're talking about today. But if you have any questions, concerns, tips, or whatever you want to do, please let us know, because we can happily do either another episode just about this, or we can share some
Yes.
information on Instagram. It's a very extensive topic, and it's fascinating. I find it fascinating. But we are running out of time for today, so definitely let us know if you want to know more, and we can do some,
Yes.
compile some research and put
We're
some.
gonna share on Instagram some information, whatever we don't have enough time to get deeper here. We can always interact and learn together. We can send you articles that we have read, and just let us know. Let's
Yes.
get in touch.
Because the whole idea, that's the whole idea of this, of, you know, sharing, creating a big community where we can all share and we can all learn, because I'm sure that I can learn things from other people as well as I can from you. So yes, so do comment, let us know, follow us on Instagram, please, and subscribe if you haven't done so, and we see you soon next week. Bye.
Bye.